Welcome to the Real Life Weight Loss Podcast, where we cut through the confusion and get down to the truth about what really works for real people when it comes to losing weight, having incredible health, and a body that you love. We believe that losing weight is really about gaining life, doing things you never thought you could, having renewed confidence, and enjoying your body more than ever. I'm your host, Corey Little. Now let's get to it. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. This is episode number 309, number 309, and today I'm going to explain to you two words that every truly great trainer or coach or expert or authority should use. These two words, you should hear them come out of their mouth. And if they don't say these words or some version of these words, well, then maybe you should start looking for a new trainer or a new coach or a new authority or expert in whatever field of life you're looking to improve. So let me be very clear. If you're someone who struggles with an all-or-nothing mindset, if you have perfectionist tendencies, if you're like, man, Corey, I just wish you would get past all this rigmarole that you talk about on the podcast and you would just freaking tell me what to eat and what not to eat. If I just wish someone would tell me like what I need to do with my diet to finally lose weight. Like just give me the answer. If this is you, then please hang around and listen to this full episode because I'm going to explain what might be going on in your brain and why it may not be quite as simple as your brain wants to try to convince you it is. Hopefully that makes sense. So before I get started, just a quick reminder that if you scroll down to the show notes, I have some really awesome free stuff there for you. There's also a link to schedule a time to watch my anti-diet class where you can learn more about my Inner Circle coaching group. And there's some links for Rise Nutrition products as well. So be sure to scroll down there. You can pause the episode right now. Go check that out if you want. But without further ado, you guys know I don't like to waste your time. Let's get into this episode. So what are these two words that every truly great trainer or coach should use? And if they're not, maybe you should find a new one. What are the two words? You may be thinking, man, what is this? What is it, right? Is it good job? Yeah, I want them to really encourage me. No, it's not good job. The two words are, it depends. What? Corey, it depends. What in the world? What are you talking about? Hang with me. I'm going to explain. So I believe there are two types of answers to questions. There are definitive answers and depends answers. Now, I know here in the United States, maybe all over, I don't know, there is a brand of adult diaper basically called Depends. And so as I was making notes for this episode, I was like, this is going to sound so weird, but just hang with me, guys. So there are answers that are definitive, and then there are the depend answers, the depends. So a definitive answer, that just means it's absolute. It's final, conclusive, authoritative. A definitive answer is usually a strong yes or no, and a definitive decision is one that is absolute and typically cannot be challenged or changed. On the flip side of definitive, we have depends. And this basically just means that the situation might not be so black and white, and the answer will probably be nuanced. Nuanced is just a fun little word that means, if we look up in the dictionary, it says having or characterized by subtle and sometimes complex qualities, aspects, or distinctions. In other words, it's not a simple yes or no like the definitive answer. It's not a simple eat this and don't eat that. It's not a simple this is right and that is wrong. When it comes to the depends answer, it means it depends on a host of factors. It depends on quite a few different things. And here's what I believe with all of my being. The less someone knows about a certain topic, the simpler it seems. Have you ever heard someone say, man, I know just enough to be dangerous? Maybe you've heard that saying. I use it sometimes myself. But this is essentially just someone admitting, hey, I'm learning, I know some stuff, but I realize this is a very complex topic or subject or process. So I do know some things, but not enough to provide great guidance. The problem here is a lot of people don't have that realization. And when someone asks a question, instead of saying, look, I know just enough to be dangerous, instead of that, they spout off some definitive answer that might be helpful and somewhat true, or it might be totally unhelpful. It might even be harmful, more harmful than helpful. And this is definitely true when it comes to weight loss, nutrition, and exercise. I like to make things as simple as possible on this podcast. As Einstein said, make things as simple as possible, but not simpler. I like that approach. I try my best to do that for all of you amazing listeners. But in my coaching group, I mean, even on this podcast to a degree, but I'm just limited in the scope and breadth of, things I can get into. But especially in my coaching group, when someone asks a question, I almost always start with this. Please remember, I coach each of you based off of your specific goals, where you are in this process, and how well I know you. And the next line is often, so, it depends. Because here's the thing, that's my way of saying, look, everyone, the answer I'm about to give to this person, it may or may not relate to you and your situation. Again, it may or it may not. It depends. And I explain what it depends on and why. I'm educating the person. And then I'll give them my 2 cents and probably offer a few options for them moving forward. Now, why do I do that? Because after almost 25 years of living, sleeping, eating, breathing, and almost obsessively studying nutrition, exercise science, psychology, human behavior, and then actually also being in the trenches coaching real people in real life, after all of that, I fully realize that there's rarely a super simple, definitive answer. What's the quote-unquote right answer? Well, it depends. And sometimes there's not even a clear-cut right answer. Now, please understand, guys, look, I'm not talking about moral stuff like, hey, should I kill that person? Should I cheat on my spouse? Should I rob that sweet old lady who's walking down the street? No, right? Like, some questions do have more definitive answers, but that's not what we're talking about today. I'm talking about the simplicity of using more calories than you consume, because we can say that's the simplicity of weight loss, right? You got to burn more calories than you consume. I'm talking about that colliding with the incredible complexity of this thing that we call life, and emotions, and human behavior, and psychology, and body image, and food, and the role it plays in our life. That is complex and nuanced, and often there's not a simple, clear-cut answer. If the simple advice of eat less and move more, if that worked, then no one would be overweight, and we would have no health problems at all. Just don't eat that. Well, just eat less sugar. Just exercise more. Just stop eating so much at night. Just wake up earlier and work out before your day starts. Just stop binging. Just get it under control. If only it were just that simple, right? The problem is, like with so many things in life, we can be our own worst enemy. Most of us really like definitive answers. We want things to be black and white. Why? Because it seems like a simpler world and a simpler solution. Just stop eating carbs. Aha! Okay, I see. I got it, Corey. Carbs are the enemy. Now I understand. We like that, don't we? Not because it's actually doable or livable, but because it seems simple, and here's the big one. It quiets our mind and makes us this false promise that we don't have to, or we won't have to, think so much. And that's really nice. Okay, I know the answer, and it's black and it's white, and I can cross that off. Most people, especially those who might call themselves perfectionists or those who have an all-or-nothing type of personality, most of those folks, or maybe I should say most of us, because I can put myself in that category oftentimes, most of us live every day with a somewhat elevated level of anxiety. We might not see it as that. We might not use that word. We might not call it that, but that's what it is. If your brain demands perfection and wants definitive answers, it's likely because that seems stress-reducing. If I can just get a yes or no, well, then I'll know the answer, and then I'll have a little less uncertainty in my life. And my friends, uncertainty fuels anxiety. It fuels stress and uneasiness. It's like pouring gas on a small, anxious flame. But definitive answers don't make us feel slightly better in that moment. Carbs are evil. Okay, finally, I get it. Great, that's amazing. Now I know. I feel so much better right now. Now I understand the problem. Carbs are the evil. Carbs are the problem. Now I know, and I don't have to try to figure this out on my own. I have an enemy. As bizarre as this sounds, we love having an enemy. Because if we have an enemy, we have something we can aim our vitriol at, we have something that we can put blame on, and we have something we can focus on. I have an enemy that I can focus on, and it is carbs. And here's the thing. This just further spirals us into a self-defeating, all or nothing, gotta be perfect mindset when it comes to our body, our food, and losing weight. And then when we can't cut out carbs, because let's be honest, nobody wants to do that. Plus, it's just way too hard. So when we can't do it, we either sink into a deep disappointment and start feeling defeated because we found the solution, but we can't do the solution. Or maybe there's a part of our all or nothing brain that says, okay, I thought that was quote unquote right, but now I know it's not, so it must be wrong. If it's not right, it's wrong, because this is black and white, all or nothing, definitive. So it's not right, so it must be wrong. So I'll go looking for the right answer again, because this is black and white and right and wrong. And food is good and bad, and I'm either on track or I'm off the wagon, and I've just got to find the right thing and the right way, and then get on the wagon and stay on the wagon. Oh, and we wonder why we have so much stress around our body and losing weight, and why all or nothing and perfectionism thrive in our brain, but that's what's going on up there sometimes. But here's the thing. Just pause for 1 second, okay, guys? Listen, turn the volume up, pause for a second, and open your brain, open your mind just a little bit. What if carbs are actually great, but they can also be not so great too? And they're really needed. They're really helpful for your success. But at the same time, we might not need quite as many as we want to eat. And maybe some carbs are super helpful and some aren't as helpful. But the ones that aren't helpful aren't necessarily bad or wrong or evil. They're also meant to be enjoyed and celebrated, but they just need to be balanced and kept in their proper place. Could it be true that all of that is true? Is there a chance? What, Corey? Time for the But Corey section. But Corey, dude, all of that was just a bunch of contradictory crap. Just tell me, man, are carbs good or bad? I mean, should I cut them out or not? And my friends, that is your stressed out all or nothing brain talking. Maybe we need to finally realize and remind ourselves of a few things. Here we go. If you're a note taker, maybe this is the part where you want to grab your pen. Number one, it's not necessarily one way or another. Multiple things that might even on the surface seem to contradict themselves. Multiple things can be true at the same time. Maybe the answer isn't A or B or C. Maybe the answer is D, all of the above, just like with the carbohydrate example I talked about. Another thing that we need to maybe realize and remind ourselves of consistently is that definitive answers feel good in the moment, but they just might not be true or helpful in the long term. And definitive answers come from an overly simplified understanding of a subject that's probably pretty complex. And the truth is that most of your questions probably have a nuanced answer where there are various options, but not one clear-cut, gotta do it this way, quote-unquote, right answer. And this is because someone who is truly knowledgeable about a certain subject or area of life, they understand that there are complexities that just might require an answer like, well, it depends. And I'll wrap this episode up the same way I wrap up answering a client's question inside my Inner Circle coaching group. I don't always say this, but sometimes when it's a really, it depends kind of question, I'll explain everything like I mentioned earlier, and then I'll offer my 2 cents, and then I'll give them some various options moving forward, and I'll help coach them through that. And then I'll say, clear as mud, huh? It's like, man, that's so not crystal clear. But here's the thing. I promise all of you the truth. And the last thing I want to do is just give you some quick surface answer just to make you feel better when it's not reality. So all of this is clear as mud, huh? Look, my recommendation is this. If you run into a so-called expert and they're offering definitive, this is right and that is wrong type of advice, then you might want to start looking or keep looking for another expert. Yes, I especially want to take complex things and make them as simple as possible. But like Einstein said, I don't want to make them simpler because that's just not helpful for you. And it just reinforces our all or nothing tendencies. And sadly, it can also be someone's way of making them sound like and feel like more of an authority or expert than maybe they really are. Okay, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you'll share it with someone, and the 2 or 3 of you will maybe discuss it and be like, hey, is Corey even making sense, or was that not even as clear as mud? Was that like as clear as concrete? Like, I don't get it at all. So share it with someone, discuss it. And then I also hope you'll take advantage of some of the awesome free stuff I have for you. Again, just scroll down to the show notes. You'll find links to all that stuff there. And there, just in case anybody's like, wait, this really does kind of make sense, and I might like to take the next step and join Corey's Inner Circle coaching program. Well, there's a link where you can view my anti-diet class, and there's a link where you can schedule a time to view my anti-diet class. You'll learn a lot more about it there, and there just might be a little special invitation at the end of that to explain more about what it's like to become part of the Inner Circle and have me coach you and help you along the process. Okay, so all of that's down in the show notes. And now let's wrap it up like we always do. Please remember, never forget that there's so much more to you than a number. So don't let the scales get all up in your head and dominate your mindset or your headspace and dictate your emotions for the day. No. There's so much more to you than that. And losing weight's incredible. I love helping people do it. It's so amazing. But losing weight, there's so much more to it than just changing the number on the scale. Losing weight is really about gaining life and living the life that you've always wanted to live. And I know you can do it. Maybe you've tried and failed. Maybe you've just been looking for a lot of definitive answers and you're like, holy crap, he's right. This stuff really hasn't helped me in the past. It's okay. Even if you've been doing that, even if maybe you're starting to doubt yourself, it's all right. You keep coming back. I'll keep working on you, doing the best I can. You step in, do the best you can, and we will get you there, my friend. Okay? Thank you so much for your time today. God bless. Bye-bye.